Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkbutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. Today I'm featuring this stamp set called Choose Happy. This is one of our new stamp sets that were released in May, so in our current annual catalogue. Really lovely little set with loads of sentiments that you can mix and match to create all sorts of things for throughout the year. And of course the images lend themselves to different occasions as well, so some stuff for summer, winter, birthdays, you know, a bit of love, a bit of Halloween, sort of, I don't know, teacher thank yous, that kind of thing. So lots of different options that we can use in this. Really good one for people who like journaling. All the images are really quite small, and the letters are sorry, the words I should say are quite small, so if you're a planner or a journaler, this could be really fun for you to use as well. Okay, so this is what we're using, Choose Happy. Okay, and we're going to do something really clean looking. Okay, this is a mostly single layer. We just popped up the sentiment, but the rest of it is just completely flat, so we're just using really nice simple technique to mask off the center and do this lovely little panel here. Okay, so I'm going to replicate this card with some different colours. Okay, so this one is Pool Party. I don't use Pool Party a lot, but this is Pool Party, nice pale blue. And then I've brought that in on the petals of the flowers with Granny Apple Green and just some yellow centres. I think it happened to be the dark lemon lolly that I used. And this is just with the blends, okay? And then just a touch of ink brought in with a blending brush just to sort of define it from the white of the card, okay? So you don't have to do it with a masking technique. You could just cut a strip that you've coloured, so the choice is yours. It's just whether you want to have the layers or whether you wanted to keep it completely flat. Okay, so you get a different look each time. So we're going to start off with some basic white. This measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, which means we're going to get, you know, a bit more of the base cardstock showing through, which pulls in the colour a little bit more from the stamping that we're going to do. I'm just going to bring in a surface that I can use just to line everything up. Okay, so I'm just using this little mat that I've got with a grid on it. This isn't a current product, but you know, you could use the grid paper, use whatever you have, just to be able to line up your cardstock so that you can put your masks down. Okay, and that's just some low tack decorators tape that I'm using there. Okay, and then the actual masking off itself, we're just going to use some good old-fashioned post-it notes. Okay, so it's going to peel off 4 of those just to make sure we cover the width of the card. Okay, and you know, sort of, you know, visualize where you want that to be. Okay, and then just pop down your post-it notes accordingly. So we'll just pop that in, and of course that the grid is just going to help us keep everything straight and lined up. Okay, and it just helps you out a little bit. You can use this decorator's tape if you want to as well. Whatever you've got that will do the job, that isn't going to be too sticky and pull up your card basically. Okay, so we'll just pop that in, and then this one on this side. Okay, so this one's always a little trickier because you've got the corner there, so just tacking that down and then just making sure that that lines up with the other one that we've got already stuck down. There we go. So it's almost like we're prepping for surgery. Okay, alright, so once you've got that down, okay, you've got the opportunity to add a little bit of ink onto the background. So I just popped on this card, I just took whatever was left on one of my green brushes. Okay, this time round I'm just going to grab whatever's on my brown brush. Okay, so rather than just take a chance though, I just want to make sure that it's not too heavy. Okay, so just going to rub some of that ink across there like that, and you can barely see it, I'm sure, on the camera, but once we peel away that that mask, it's really going to show through. And you can intensify bits of it if you want to, you know, opposing corners and a little bit here and there, just to give it a bit more of an organic look if you want. But it doesn't have to be a lot. It just provides that contrast between the plain basic white and that central panel. Because we are going to be colouring with Stampin' Blends, we need to use a water-based ink. So I'm going to pull in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Okay, and our lovely little flower here. Okay, so when you first get your photopolymer stamps as well, before you start inking with them, just give them a little sort of wipe with your fingers, and then give them a clean off on a stamp chamois or in your stamping scrub or something like that, and you'll find that they'll take the ink really well. You may want to just check that the ink's going to distribute nicely onto that photopolymer before you start, especially if you're new to stamping. Okay, there's no harm in just trying some stuff out before taking things to paper. So, light tapping on the ink pad, tap 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 tap. Okay, and rotating that around a little bit so that the flower is oriented in different ways. Straight down, don't rock it, straight up, and you'll get a great image every time. Okay, only takes a little bit of practice just to do that up and down, not to rock it around or anything like that. Just want some leaves poking in on this bit, I think. So you don't need to ink the whole of the stamp if you don't want to. And then I think we'll pop one there, and we'll have a bit more poking in there. Okay, it's up to you whether you think you need something on the edge there. You want to make it look like the pattern continues, right, and it doesn't just stop. Okay, so we've now got all our stamping has occurred in that middle portion, and that background has been protected. Okay, so we can pop that ink to one side for the moment. We will need it again for the sentiments. Okay, but now we can just peel back those post-it notes. If you peel things back on themselves, it's less likely to pull up your cardstock. Now you could reuse those if you wanted to. Okay, so hopefully now you'll be able to see quite clearly that pale ink, that residual ink has really made that section pop. You could leave it just like that. You don't have to colour it in. Okay, don't need that anymore. This just wipes clean, so whatever you're using, whether it's paper or whatever, you can just chuck it away or whatever you want to do. So we'll just pop in those centres again. What have I got here? Is this Daffodil Delight? Yep. It's only a couple of yellows. We've only got Daffodil Delight and Lemon Lolly in the blends. Okay. So we're just going to pop those into the centres. So it's a bit of a deeper colour, and this is the darker marker. So we don't need to blend that out at all. It's just a centre of a flower. So no need to get too fussy with it. For the leaves this time, I'm going to use Old Olive. So again, we've got the dark and the light marker. Okay, these are our alcohol-based markers, the Stampin' Blends. Okay, so we've got a lot of new demonstrators joining us at the moment who may not be familiar with all the products. Okay, so these square barreled markers are alcohol markers, and the Stampin' Blends worked. And then they work together to blend together and create some really nice effects. Okay, so they have a brush end and we have a bullet tip as well. Okay, so depending on what you're doing, and whether it's, you know, you've got some fine detail or whatever, you may want to use one end or the other. There are lots of different theories on whether you should start with the dark marker or the light marker when you're colouring in. So I would say find a method that works for you. I used to always start with a light marker and work like that, but I tend to favour just going in with the dark marker now, and then adding extra layers as I need to. Just being mindful that I don't want to go beyond these borders that we've set in place with that masking. Okay, so now we've got our darker portions in. I've just partially coloured those leaves there. Okay, alright. Right, these are quite small, so I'm using the bullet tip. Then you want to come in on the other side. So sometimes the colours will look quite similar until they dry back, but it's a case of trusting the process. Okay, so I'm going to fill that in. And where the two meet, they will start to merge together, but it doesn't happen instantaneously, so don't be too disappointed if there's still a line. It will smooth out as the ink, or the alcohol I should say, dries back and evaporates. Okay, so this isn't terribly complex colouring for these ones, just the two colours in the combination set of markers that you purchase together anyway. Okay, so colouring is very, very relaxing, so I do tend to go a bit quiet when I do that. Okay, and then once you've done that and you're kind of starting to see it dry a little bit, if you feel like it needs a bit more depth here and there, then you can just add a little bit more ink where you want it. Okay, now if you are artsy and you know about, you know, light direction and shadow and shade and stuff like that, you'll probably do a much better job than me right now. But if you're brand new to it, don't need to overthink it too much, and you'll get a really nice result. Okay, so those will just mingle together and start drying, and you won't be able to see that line so much. Okay, so we're going to do a similar thing with the petals. And then another colour that I don't use very often, so I didn't Pool Party, again, don't use that much. This time we're going to use Calypso Coral, so again we've got a light and a dark marker. Okay, what I will say is sometimes it's a good idea to just try out your markers, because if you've used your dark marker a lot but not your light one, sometimes the two can you know, sort of almost trade places really. Okay, but in, oh, whoops, I didn't put the lid on all the way. Make sure you do put the lids on when you've finished, otherwise the markers will dry out, or the alcohol will evaporate. Okay, so for these markers, the colours are very, very stark, different. Okay, so we're going to pop down that dark colour, and then I'm going to go over that dark colour with the light marker out to the tip of that petal. Okay, so I am going to use the bullet tip. I thought the sometimes the brush tip is nice because it can really, you know, work into that blend. Okay, and you're going to think, gosh, that will never come out and blend together, but it will. I'm just going over that, making sure it's nice and saturated with the alcohol. It will disperse that darker colour. Okay, and that's our first flower done. Okay, so we'll let that do its thing, and then it might be that we need to just come back and blend that out some more. If you add too much alcohol all at once, it does run the risk of bleeding, and that's even more of a risk with these with the deeper red and dark pink colours. So if you're concerned about that, you could just not quite go up to the line, and then the colour can diffuse a little on its own. Okay, so this one's going to have dried a little bit. Okay, and we can pull a bit more alcohol into there if you want to. Okay, just where that join of the two colours is, and it'll help them start to mingle. Okay, and of course, you know, flowers aren't uniform either, so if some are darker than others, that's fine. Okay, all the colouring is done. Okay, and I've added a little bit of Wink of Stella on there as well, just to add a little bit of a sparkle. Just peel back the tape on itself like that, and it should come away no problem whatsoever. Okay, so that's that decorator's tape for delicate surfaces, so if you get that, that should be perfect. Okay, I still take off a little bit of the tack though, don't just go straight with it. I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal, our lovely tape roller there, and we're going to pop that onto a Calypso Coral card base. So obviously this matches the flowers that we've just been colouring in on there. Okay, brings the whole thing to life once you put that layer on. Okay, isn't that great? Oops, wrong way. Okay, just completely lifts that. Alright, so the last thing to do is just the lovely little sentiment. Okay, so I always keep hold of these little skinny bits of cardstock that you end up with when you've trimmed things down. Where did I put my memento? There it is. Okay, so with these little tiny stamps, then I'm going to work backwards, and I'm going to pop down the hello first. Okay, and I'm going to try not to get my head in the shot. So if this turns out a little bit not quite straight, I want to try and get my head right over the top of that to get it nice and level. But you guys are right where I would like to pop my head so I can see it. Okay, but lots of light tapping. And like I say, you just hover, look through the block, and just pop that down when you are ready. Okay, so that looks about right. Okay, so we've got that lovely happy hello sentiment there. And then we're going to bring in the trimmer. Okay. Now, somebody did contact me about the trimmer and asked about, you know, the blade coming out. There is like this little teeny tiny notch, and I don't even know whether you can even see that properly on the on there. Okay, that's where the blade comes in and out, and you kind of have to heel toe it, sort of as it gets there, lift it, and then it comes out, and then put the toe back in, heel back in, and slide that in. Okay, but if you're not putting too much pressure on it, then it shouldn't lift out at all. It shouldn't just fall out. Okay, and if it does, then you possibly need to think about contacting the Stampin' Up! And seeing whether you can get that replaced. Okay, but it shouldn't just come out just with general use. Okay, right. I keep that at the bottom. Right, so in terms of trimming this down, then I think we just need a little bit of that off. I think it's just going to be a little bit too long there, but I don't want it right, the words to be too close to the edge. And then it's a case of eyeballing it a bit, really, to be honest. It's just short of 1/2 inch. So I'm going to eyeball it about there. Okay. You don't need to worry about measuring everything necessarily. There are some projects where the measurements are going to be important, but there's others where it won't be. Okay. So I'm going to use our little mini dimensionals to stick this down. Okay, so I'm going to flip that over, and we'll pop, not quite to the end because it's going to overhang. I'm going to pop 4 of those on. Okay, and a little tip for in the little backs of these, because they are so small, if you press your nail into those, makes the edge just lift up, and those should come off without any problem whatsoever. And then we can just pop that down. So I'm taking it so that it's halfway over that blended line, and it's overhanging here. Okay, and it's a little trick to make sure things sort of stand out, but also show that they are connected. Okay, so you can see it doesn't blend in, but it is part of the card. Okay, now I opted not to add any extra ribbons, embellishments, or anything like that. I wanted this to be nice and simple. But of course, you can jazz that up as much as you like. Okay, throw everything at it if you want. You can adjust the size of this blending panel. You could, stamp the whole background, do whatever you like. This is a serving suggestion. Okay. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something, and you like the look of these cards. Links to the products are going to be in the description. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give me a thumbs up, punch that subscribe button, and then you can tap the bell to be notified when I do post videos. Try and get at least 1 out a week, but sometimes there's more than that. I do work, have a day job, so my crafting time is limited, but I do try and get at least 1 video out to you every week. Thanks so much for joining me again today. Hope everyone is staying safe. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.